Let's move away from Sudan. Union workers across South Africa will be gathering in rallies to commemorate International Workers' Day. The day is widely celebrated in as many as 80 countries to honor the contribution of working-class men and women across the world. Globally, the day has been a holiday since 1891. However, in South Africa, it only became a holiday right after the 1994 democratic elections.
Now, in South Africa this year, the day will be recognizing the pivotal role workers play in building the economy and the society envisaged in the National Development Plan. Well, joining us now is the Parliamentary Coordinator for the Congress of South African Trade Unions, Matthew Parks. Thank you, Matthew, for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
All right, it's good morning over here. Thank you for joining us. Now, Matthew, South Africa is celebrating the Workers' Day, and according to some people that have spoken from South Africa, they are saying that the Workers' Day is a reflection of 29 years of freedom and what people have done with it, and also the challenges that they encounter, especially in this period, where the economy is not so stable. So what does this day mean to you and the other workers' union?
Yeah. So, look, Workers' Day started in about 1886 in Chicago, and workers in the US protested against very brutal working conditions, and they were met with deadly force. Many were shot and killed and lost their lives. So it's a chance to maintain the tradition. Workers across the world, not just in South Africa, but across Africa, across the world, come together over May Day, Workers' Day. They reflect on the challenges facing workers. Like, for example, South Africa, we have mine workers who die every week in unnecessary accidents in the mines. We have police officers who are killed every week in the line of duty. We have, domestic workers, cleaners, who are often harassed sexually at the workplace. We have many workers who are paid what is in essence a slave wage. There's also a chance to say, what is the progress workers have managed to achieve as organized labor, as a trade union movement? We can point in South Africa that we have increased the national minimum wage to 25 Rand an hour, which is benefiting farm workers, domestic workers, security guards, and so forth. We've strengthened our labor laws over the past 2 years to make sure that domestic workers, when they work at people's homes, they are protected if they're injured at the workplace. We've strengthened our labor laws to make sure that when companies apply to do business with the state, they must be in compliance with the labor laws of the Republic of South Africa. So there is progress. We're also coming together to say, what are the challenges we have to continue to champion as a trade union movement going forward for the next year and beyond that. For example, to reduce the huge level of unemployment, which is at about 42%, to see how can we help grow the economy, to create jobs, to see how can we help improve workers' wages, to strengthen the labor laws, the collective bargaining, negotiation processes. Also say, what are the creative measures we can put in place to help workers who are really struggling? For example, we have now got a draft bill before Parliament, which is going to allow workers who are drowning in debt early access to the pension funds from March next year. It's a way of trying to alleviate the pressure on them and make sure they can help take care of their families. So there's a chance to reflect on the past victories and difficulties and the current victories and difficulties and what is the way forward. There's a chance to remind workers of the critical challenge to struggle, the importance of workers to unite, and then to see how can we work together collectively to improve the lives of workers across South Africa.
Obviously, a lot of work needs to be done. It sounds like, an extensive plan that, but of course, the government needs to also be interested in easing the stress of workers and, proper representation of workers, including, of course, the labor unions. The theme for this year is workers' contribution to South Africa's National Development Plan. Can you talk about that contribution and how much South African workers have given and sacrificed, and the role that they've played to the National Development Plan of South Africa, and why you think they deserve to be properly compensated?
Yeah, I think for us the critical point which you're raising about the role of workers has to be recognized and respected. Workers build the welfare of any country's economy is based upon. The nurses volunteer their work, the labor. They expect to get paid a decent wage in return. Teachers, you need to treat them well so they ensure that your children are educated and able to compete in life. The very products that our economy is based upon, the mining resources, or the petroleum resources in Nigeria's instance, or the diamond in Angola's case, those are mined and are brought into the economy because of workers. Companies make huge profits, but they're reluctant to pay workers a living wage. And all workers are asking for is a living wage so they can take care of their families, they can provide shelter and clothes and food for them, and so they can also buy the goods that these economies produce. We need to find a win-win solution, but we can't continue to treat workers like slaves, pay them slave wage in many instances. It's also about saying how do we make sure we build a better labor market environment where employers should respect the need to negotiate with workers, respect signed agreements. They should respect the role of trade unions who help to bring about stability and to help provide a stable way of addressing workers' concerns. Often we've seen employers who simply choose to undermine labor relations, undermine trade unions, undermine workers' rights. And that's not how you're going to build stability. If you want the economy to grow, you need to have stability. So if you want to have stability, you need to address workers' concerns. Societies which don't do that don't prosper. But if you can look at other countries which do respect workers' rights, like for example Sweden or Germany, then you can see progress. People are highly motivated, they come to work, and they're keen to ensure a successful company. They're involved in the company's management and its success and its operations. They depend upon it. Often you find in South Africa, many other countries in Africa, there's an adversarial relationship where the employees don't respect workers, and of course, it undermines productivity. So I think for us, we want to see companies do well, because when companies do well, they can pay workers a salary, they can save those jobs, they can create more jobs. But again, companies need to respect workers and treat them as part of the assets of the company, and that's how they'll succeed. Government too needs to respect workers. They need to help improve workers' lives and conditions, and not simply treat them as voting fodder or treat them as an afterthought.
All right, Matthew. Now, over the years, there have been, of course, workplace policies and labor laws that have been put in place, but it's needless to say that these laws have not been applied at all in some instances, and in other instances, it's been ineffective and inconsistent. Now, how has this, ineffective and inconsistency in applying the labor laws and workplace policies affected the working conditions of the people in South Africa?
Yeah, it has a huge challenge. So we appreciate that all laws are built there because there's a problem in society. So you put in place laws to deal, for example, with assault or murder or rape or crime or corruption because there's a problem in society. So we also put in place labor laws because we need to address problems in the workplace. We need to make sure workers are paid at a minimum wage level, not below that, so they can survive. We need to make sure that laws are put in place to make sure that workers are not overworked, have got time off, work a maximum amount of hours per week, given time to take care of their children and so forth. We need to put in place laws to recognize the right to negotiate, to trade unions and so forth. So in South Africa, we are fortunate that the trade unions led by COSATU have helped, working with government since 1994, to put in place our very progressive labor laws. But we've also seen that whilst we can have good and nice laws on paper and nice English and so forth, at times it's very difficult to implement it. We had a passed in 2018, a national minimum wage law, which said below this level, no workers will be paid below it. It's trying to improve the wages of workers, make sure workers have enough to feed their families and so forth. We've seen many employers simply choosing to ignore it. So that points a challenge to trade unions to make sure workers are aware of their rights and know how to exercise them. But also trade unions play a role in holding employers accountable, expose those who default, report them to the state. It also means that government, through the Department of Labour inspectors, needs to pay much more attention to enforcing labor laws, to holding employers who break them accountable and to penalize them as per the law. It also means that the leadership of organized business too must play a patriotic role in encouraging its members and exposing the members who refuse to obey by the labor laws. We all have to do much better. But I think we also appreciate that part of drafting laws is change the culture of society. You are going to find people who break the law and you must then hold them accountable. But we all know that it is going to help nudge society in the correct directions. That's what we've seen many of our labor laws. They've often not always been implemented fully. They often have been ignored. But over time, you've seen more and more employers choosing to comply with them. We've now passed a new law in Parliament which says that if a company wants to do business with the state, it needs to get a certificate of compliance from the Department of Labour that it is in compliance with the labor laws of the country. So that's a positive and creative measure to try to incentivize businesses and to reward those who do comply by labor laws.
Well, it's an ongoing conversation. It's not going to end today. Definitely wouldn't end in the next couple of years because there's a lot of work that needs to be done to protect workers, from violence and and harassment, and of course also improve on their living standards, improve on their remuneration, and some of all of that in South Africa. But Matthew Parks, thank you so much for the work that you do. We enjoyed speaking with you and look forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you.